Hi guys, our first guest is a mother to two beautiful baby boys, Benak and Nanda. I've known her since our younger teenage, playing full-time tennis days as one of the best players of her age group from Bangalore. As we competed in a different age brackets and levels of play, we never got to be friends back then. Thanks to social media, I've seen her grow from maintaining a small private account to becoming the person she is today, who is comfortable in her own skin and, might I say, found purpose and joy in being of service in her area of expertise, which is non-medical health care during pregnancy and postpartum, such as fitness, nutrition, and day-to-day baby care concerns. We have with us here today Akshita Basaraju. Hi,
Hi,
Akshita.
thank you. What a short, lovely introduction that was. Thanks.
Thank you. So I was wondering, since I gave an intro that an international tennis player, I want to kickstart by asking, how was your time in tennis? Because I know it involves being a lot of pressure and competing and wanting to win. So how was it for you? Was it positive or did you have any negative emotions back then?
I think both, but it used to be positive when there was not a lot of competition involved, when you're just practicing on a daily basis. When that kind of competitiveness builds up, I think that's when, and you start, going out there and, you're putting yourself up there and saying, no, I have to, like, there are moments when you're like, I have to win. And, you're not the underdog, but actually the dominant player, and, you're seeded and you have to win. So that kind of pressure does, and when you end up not winning those matches, that kind of negativity kind of bogs you down at some point. It happens in any athlete's life, but I think for who I am today, I give credit to all of that, because I'm able to take in a lot more pressure today in terms of work, or even being a mother to two boys and getting a routine in place for them, actually telling them what to do, and actually making them handle this pressure better, because I was through all of this, and making it probably better for them by my experiences. So yeah, I think it has a mix of both.
Why did you decide to stop, Akshita? Like, what was the reason? Playing tennis.
To be honest, I had a very reoccurring injury on my left wrist, and my backhand was my strength. You are a tennis player, so I'm talking like heart to heart. So you obviously know how an injury can bring you down. And I was transitioning from juniors to women's when this happened.
Correct,
so that itself is a big transition, that you're moving from the under 18 circuit to a bigger circuit, where you're still, the underdog, because there's so many other competing players, that people from all age groups, because women's is an open category, and you're like, out there in the open, find your way. So that itself was a big thing mentally. And physically this happened, and I was eager enough to get back. So I just didn't probably rest enough at times when I was injured. So that injury didn't never left me, to be honest. So, and then I it started picking up mentally. I was like, I can't give it my 100%. So mainly it was that. And I think another reason was also because I come from, my mom's not very conservative, but my dad is, and he was very keen on, the settling age for a girl, and that was very, very prominent. And more so, I don't want to be, stereotyping it, but I think in down south it's a little more like that. Like, you reach a particular age, they're looking out for you, and they're like, no, listen, I think it's time you kind of. And they're also like, sport doesn't serve the entire purpose of you going through life. So it doesn't give you more than just the sport, which has definitely changed today. And I am who I am today because of that. So sport has given me so much more. Like, I've literally mapped my way out up here because of the sport I played. So yes, I think that mental thought by my dad, and kind of influencing my mother and everybody at home, saying, I think it's time you take it a little easy and focus on settling down. So that kind of happened. So I think both of them just happened very simultaneously, and I just went into more academics and said I'll get my master's done and all of that, and slowly it kind of transitioned into a much lesser competitive tennis days. So
I can definitely relate to the whole injury thing and settling down and all that. It was
I'm
very
sure you can. Yes.
You got married at a pretty early age, right?
Yes, 22, 23. So I was kind of
wondering if it was love or arranged, or how did you manage to navigate the relationship over the years?
Right. So this is a question that's not very often asked, the second part of your question. But the first one, yes, I got married pretty early. It was arranged. It was completely arranged because I was too young and I think too naive. Like I didn't really know what it is to be in a
I think
relationship.
most of the people who are into the serious sport tend to be naive because all they know is that culture. They don't really come out of it. I'm sorry.
Very true.
Yeah.
At least until like 22, 23. I think after that, you're more in the women's circuit and you're more open, you're more mature, you're like seeing more people. I don't think when they're 25, 26, you would have probably seen a few people and you want to, okay, fine, go out there and look for yourself and see who you like and things like that. But when you're like 21, 22, you're still very like, you're just playing that sport, studying, you're just so, there, so focused. So that behavior doesn't happen. So I think that's why I was very, very like, okay, you think that's right for me, I'll do it. Like, it was more that kind of a mindset. So that's how I agreed. Obviously you're just like your parents say he's good for you, fine. You're like, yeah, I think it's good because I've been listening to you all my life saying this is good for you, do it. And they're your biggest guide. You just close your eyes and say, okay. So that's kind of what happened in terms of marriage. And obviously I did get to meet my husband, my then fiancé, or who I was trying to progress with in terms of a relationship. So yes, we met a couple of times and I kind of liked who he was on the whole. Like there's only little you can tell in about say 6-7 meets, so but I did get a vibe to it. And I said, okay, see, you try to see a lot of your fatherly instincts in that person because that's all you're exposed to. So that kind of convinced me and I said, okay, this is I think this is the right thing for me, and I went ahead.
Do you guys have any ground rules so that there's no misunderstanding in the relationship, or you just take it along the way?
We've made ground rules along the way. I think not initially because also another thing is he works at another place because he's in a transferable job, so he's always on the move. So sometimes I end up being Bangalore is kind of our base because he's from here. Work has taken him out of Bangalore. So there are times when I can't really explain stuff to him over the phone or things like that. So our fights would prolong for like 2 days, 3 days initially, like in the earlier years. Now we've come to realize that, it doesn't work that way. And we kind of make do with then and there, like at least the next call and that day just solves the problem. So that's another rule. We're like, don't, push the fight longer. So I think those kind of little rules and changes, yes, we have, done.
So cute. So I have been following your Insta page for so long. I've seen how consistent you've been with your content and how that helped in the growth of your page. Did you have an idea then that this is where you're headed?
No, not at all, actually. It was a very personal account, like you initially started, introducing me. And I just started sharing because people started asking me. It wasn't very like self also. It wasn't very self-driven, to be very honest. So I was like, wait, like there were people who were asking me like very, very basic things like, can I walk? I think I should rest. I'm pregnant. I just got to know I'm pregnant. I'm like, is no one telling you? Like, for me, it was something so, how can you even ask that question? Because I come from a background where sport has, been a basic part of my life. But I realized not only in our country, world over, like it isn't the same for, most, like a huge audience. So that's when I was like, okay, wait, I started becoming more, like I started posting stuff for public then because I wanted to start spreading awareness. That's all. That's how it started. So yes, that was I think the direction move happened.
So I guess my next question you sort of answered. It's like when and what made you realize that you wanted to be of service to people in this manner? Like, was there any turning point or some situation and circumstance that changed your course?
I think after I had my first baby, that's when the questions started coming up. So I wasn't putting out before after pictures just to say, see, I can do it, you can't. I wanted to tell them that everybody can. And it's not just because I was into sport. Look at people, look at your grandmothers, look at the construction workers in your house, look at people who are doing like, jobs on an everyday basis, physically, moving around. They have to do it and they're totally fine. They're birthing babies, they're coming back to it. They look like they have, it's not because I've been doing stuff. You have to generally be active. It's not like you just sit and rest. So it was more like spreading awareness about you're just pregnant, you're not a patient,
Treat it like just another thing, like period perhaps, but maybe less frequent than
Yes, less frequent for sure. And so many people have done it. It can't be that hard, right? So that's why I tell everyone, like, I'm scared, I'm pregnant. I'm like, there are women who've given birth to 4, 5, 6 kids doing it routinely. I mean, we were designed like the whole reproductive system, and God made us for a reason this way. It can't be that hard. So that's, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure people around you must have said it's not safe to work out during pregnancy. What made you decide that you wanted to change that thought process?
One, my mother, I think, because when you have, for everything, you just look up to her more so when you're pregnant, because you're like, she's the closest aide I have who's gotten pregnant and delivered, so she'll know. So, and she was up for it because, and also my gynecologist. So both of them together, I think my moral support and the driving force was them. So my gynecologist also was in tandem with what my mom was saying. So I was very, I trusted these two. You really have to trust in someone who's telling you, it's good for you. So you have to have that trust. And I knew you have to understand your body. So, that much you'll be, I might be an instructor who might be telling you, do this, do that, but you also know how much your body can do. So these 3 things, I think someone who can morally support you, and, your own instinct and your understanding of the body, this is enough to actually tell you how much you can actually push, how much you can modify in pregnancy, what you can, can you stay completely fit throughout your pregnancy? These questions you'll be able to answer if you get this intact. So that's my understanding about the entire process through both pregnancies. So, yeah.
Did you go through situations where, parents or otherwise, there were perceptions around you that came up, like during pregnancy, and, like maybe you're not supposed to do this much, maybe only this much. How did you tackle them? Or how did you see your perspective, if there were situations like that?
To be honest, I was lucky at home. It wasn't so much because, of course, there were some situations where I had to wait like the 4th month, and then I started working out outside. So the gym was definitely an option. I liked going out, doing things, because it was my me time. Like, it would give me that kind of, a calm state of mind. There were times when I didn't have to tell my dad, because he would, even though, like, he's seen me play a sport and he understands it's important. So I would go at a time where, he wouldn't be around home. So I'm putting out a big confession here, because this is in the first pregnancy, because though, how much ever I did try to tell him, or my mom did try to tell him, he was like, why do you want to, do everything after you have the baby? Like, the baby has to be safe. So, but the thing is, it's a very ongoing process, fitness. Like, once you let go, it's very, very hard to, and there will be so many possibilities that you may end up, getting stuff that you don't want in the process of your gap. So that's why I didn't want to stop. It wasn't like I was pushing myself hard or anything. I just wanted that flow to just continue, even though it was very, very light or medium. So yes, these kind of, things did come up. Luckily, I'm not someone who goes out a lot, meets a lot of aunts, or meets a lot of extended family through pregnancy. So I didn't have to hear a lot, but I do know, I have a lot of moms coming up to me and saying, people in my own house, like, I have to sit inside my room and do stuff. How do I do cardio, like, here inside the room, like when they're pregnant? So I tried to, work around that and give them a plan where they can do on the spot cardio, something inside the room. So these are challenges I face when, I get people coming to me and saying, I can't even like step out and do something because there's someone judging me, or somebody telling me, no, it's wrong, or I'm scared if something happens, they'll blame that, so these challenges we do get, but I do work around that and try to give them workouts they can do in the convenience of, the room itself, even postpartum. So, yeah.
Did dad finally see the perspective after you've given birth to 2 kids?
Yes.
Straight? Now
not 2, 1 itself. So the second time around, he was completely okay. He just let me, he understood, like, So I think for them, it's more like, I think the first one coming also gave him a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you'll have to try your best to talk it out. Otherwise, you do your thing, but understanding, know your body well. So I'm saying, have that confidence. So many people may be saying like a lot of things, but you should know, like, okay, fine, I know I can push myself so much and I won't go beyond that. So that's a very thin line, especially in pregnancy and postpartum. And that's where I come in to clear that doubt. So where it's a very, budding industry, or not even an industry, like, there's not anyone you can ask these questions to. there's only little you can ask a doctor. Like they'll give you,
many
they'll spare you.
misconceptions and people guiding you wrong. So
Yes.
and that
And people always telling you don't.
Fear that it might go wrong.
Yes.
That's what I think mostly stops people from even taking that little chance.
Very true.
I know you didn't post publicly too much as much as you do now back when you were pregnant with Ben. Was it, why was it, and what changed for the next pregnancy? Like during, I mean.
Got it. Like I said, the first time it was very personal. So I was like, I might have people who might be in my family or probably even like I didn't feel the need because I didn't know there was this kind of, need for other moms to know. The things have opened up a lot since then. Like people want to know, they're talking more honestly because you want the real stuff. I can't like put up a fancy picture and say I'm fine. Like, I just did it because I'm just very fit and I want to tell them why I did it and how you can also do it though you've not been a sports person like me. So that perspective changed for me. For me, initially it was only like, oh, I'm fit. Okay, I can do it. And it was more about me rather than, wanting to, spread awareness. So I think that perspective changed through in my second pregnancy itself, not even post. I started posting a lot through if you notice, like people just shun away from posting or sharing stuff through pregnancy. They say it all later because the baby's out and they're very confident. That's what that guidance women need now, moms to be. They're like, guide me through the pregnancy. Like I know you did it, what you did after. So I started sharing a lot through pregnancy itself because I wanted them to know that it is normal, like you can do it. So yeah.
So the first one gave you the confidence to go ahead with.
Yes, definitely.
During the second one.
Yes, that I can't deny.
The first time around, did you know what you were doing in terms of workout and nutrition, or did you have to take some guidance and go along with your instinct?
Nutrition, not at all, because the house itself, for the last decade, I think because of tennis, everybody's, shift. There's a paradigm shift about what's healthy, what's not healthy. So to be honest, I didn't change anything in my diet except for adding on a few extra nutrient. Like I started having more pomegranate from the 5th, 6th month. So a few, changes. Like I did follow the Kesar milk after the 6th month. So these, Indian kind of, they're not really myths. Like the ones I thought will work, I followed. So these little changes, apart from that, my meals, my snacks, everything remained the same. What was pre-pregnancy through, and it continued. So yes, I think the second part of your question.
Workout.
Yes, workout. So workout, I continued to go to the same gym I used to earlier, but obviously I had a trainer throughout, and he guided me. But he wasn't a prenatal and postnatal person, but he knew, what I could do. So I had to work my instincts on it. So it was more like a very experimental, research. I did a lot of reading then. I did more reading in my first pregnancy than the second. So that served me through, and I've continuously been doing it even now. So yeah.
As an athlete, I understand when you, what you mean by when you say listen to your body, it actually speaks to us. Like if you feel tired from soreness, it's different from exhaustion, right? If it's soreness, you have to push yourself. And if it's exhaustion, it means you need a break. The body's asking for a break. But a regular average person may not be able to listen and understand what the body's saying. At the same time, a lot of people out there, they give out the same program to every person, and nutritionists give out the same meal plan without specific customization. And, in a way, they're wrongly guided. So how does an average person who's starting out their nascent stages of workout or routine, how do you think they should go about with so much misguidance around, and they themselves don't have the knowledge that you need to understand your body as much? Maybe they don't pick up on the cues because we are used to it, playing from a young age. We know the warm-ups require, the stretchings required, but not every person is equipped with that. So what do you think? How can you advise those kind of people?
So the first thing I'd like to say is, if you're very, very amateur and you have no clue about where to start, you definitely need someone to guide you. It can be like, you can't start out with or if you have someone at home who knows a little bit about it, at least you can talk to them and then go ahead, or friends who've been doing things. Otherwise, you definitely need to get some professional help. If you're very new, there's no other way about it. But if you're someone who has a certain amount of understanding about physical stuff and how to do it and things like that, you can sketch out your own plan. Like, I would suggest, at least if not a complete thing, whole detailed description, at least a mind map about what I'm going to do Monday to Friday, and make sure that you have a mix of aerobic and anaerobic. Like, your aerobic is something to do with cardio, which can vary across many modes. You have your jump rope, your plyometrics, you have on the spot cardio, treadmill, whatever, and a mix of anaerobics, body strengthening. So you start with your own body weight and then move into strength training. So this is a basic on how you can start fitness for your body. So a mix of aerobic and anaerobic, where you work on strength and your aerobic level. So I would generally, when I'm telling someone, this is what I say. I start with, you need a mix of both. But see, I'm again someone who's in the field. So you need to ask someone who's in the field before starting out. If you're very nascent in the field, I definitely think you need professional help.
One of my friends recently asked me, it's not, it's a he, obviously, is not pregnant, but
right.
They downloaded a new app and which gave out workouts every day for a different routine, like chest routine one day, abs routine one day.
Right.
So he, because he was unaware and amateur in this field, he thought all the 5 different sets of routine have to be finished on the same day. I'm like, no, you each routine is for a separate day, and maybe you can add a little cardio to it, but don't be confused.
Exactly.
Try yourself out. First, build a routine. 20 minutes is good. He's like, is 20 minutes enough? I'm like, yeah, it's good. You have to plan for the longer run and not just burn out, especially when your body's not used to it. So I guess
exactly what I said. See, you're a friend, and even this much guidance goes a long way. Like, he can really place out his workout so well.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out who you have to ask.
Initially, they just feel like they want to sweat it out, tire themselves out. Otherwise, it's not fitness,
Yes. And then you're so bogged down, you're so exhausted. So for another week, they're like, or they just, give up motivation. So they're like, oh, it's so hard. Who's going to work so hard every day? So you don't have to work so hard every day. It's, little by little. Correct. So what you've said is exactly, the right thing that that's how you can guide someone.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I've seen your followers are genuinely interested in what you have to share. It might be Benak's cuteness or your fitness goals or advices and suggestions about baby care. First of all, congratulations on that. But I've also observed there's a negative section of people who say that, not everyone can be as privileged as you are to be able to spend that much time around kids, or to have that much time to do all the time consuming stuff that you talk about, or, have their mom with them to take care of the baby. So I have 2 questions here. How do you deal with this negative energy? And how do you still go ahead with what you've been doing without letting it bog you down?
Right. So the first part of it, to be honest, I think all of us do have, parts of our life. We're always comparing. I think whoever you are, you're like, like I just said, if so many women can do it, why can't you? So I'm also doing the same thing here. So you have to really get a general understanding out of it and take out, I feel like, they should just pick out parts where they think it'll help them rather than take it in this way. Because privileged you may have in terms of other things. It doesn't have to be the same thing, for you. So for me, it was even through my deliveries, it was my mother who was present, and I chose, her because there was a reason to it. But for most, it is their husband, their partner, because they relate more with them. And so you have to find your reasons. My husband wasn't around, so I had my reasons for it. So you have to really, really, understand, like I said, pick out what you think will work for you from seeing someone else. This is a very, psychological thing. Forget pregnancy, forget fitness. I'm just saying it as a general statement. So if I keep saying, oh, why is Ambani like that? Why can't I be like that? I mean, where are you going to go? Like, you're privileged in few things, fine, but you can at least pick out points even from them. So my mom always tells me this, like, if you're looking up, take the things that you think will work for you from there. So I think that's how I deal with that negative energy. It doesn't bother me. I think I'm just very cheerful from the inside, or, and spending time with kids just gives me that bliss. So I'm just like, I just throw myself into it. Even if it's work, like even if there's potty to clean, I just enjoy it. Like I smile to the baby and do it. So I think not everyone's like that. Okay. For you may be like with a very different perspective, but you have to figure something out for that task. So it takes a village to raise a baby. That's, not said simply. So whoever there is to take help, please take. Like I tell a lot of moms, I'm like, don't be so hesitant about hygiene. Like, I only have to do it. I only have to clean it. I only have to feed. At least guide them through it 2-3 times. You do it and make them stay there. And at least, tell them, can you at least go? They won't do it 100% how you do it. But at least, you get about 50-60%. It's like hitting an ace. They put the target there. You're not obviously going, even if you're not going to hit the target all the time, at least going somewhere around there close. So this is how I relate sport to, daily life also. So that's how I would. So I would give it to my mom. I would give it to, my husband and say, okay, please do it. And then I know they won't do it probably as how I do it, but I know it'll be close. So you have to figure something out, and the energy you have also really counts. So I'm doing like 5 things at a time at one point, and my mind's like always running. So it's how you train. And this comes from, I think, sport also. And, juggling 2-3 things. You're traveling, you're managing your own money. You also have the pressure of your match. You think you have to go back and give my exams. Or how about my attendance in college? So you have like 20 things in your mind. So I think it really has worked on me, and, I'm who I am because of that. And I take it more positively. I don't really let it affect me so much. So yeah.
That's amazing. How important do you think is your self-care time? I mean, do you ever get depressed or feel hopeless about anything, or how you come back up from it?
Yeah, I like having people around, like at least family. So I just make sure I'm around people and talking a lot more. And whenever I feel down, I just pick, even if I'm away, I pick up my phone and call family. Like for me, I'm not so much a friends person, maybe because of tennis and sport and all that. But family, I just pick up my phone and just talk to my brother. So that's one way how I do it. But there are days when I do feel a little. The days I feel really bad is the days I don't work out. So I know it's time to go run or go sweat. For me, that really half of my mood, like my mood shifts. Like I'm able to spend more happy moments with the kids or anything if I know I've done that workout. So I know it's time. Like there's a time where 2 days I've gone without doing anything, and I'm irritable. Like my mom just knows it, and my husband's also like, okay, I think I should just give her that half an hour, just go run and come, and she'll be fine. So you have to figure that me time thing. So for so many of them, it's like getting a massage done, or getting a facial done. So don't give up on those little things, because once that is satisfied, you're so much of a happier person to be with. So for me, it revolves around fitness. And yeah, I think somewhere and also with 2 kids, I've begun to kind of say, like settle in terms of with unplanned. Otherwise you're like, this should happen at 5 o'clock, this should happen at 6 o'clock, this should happen. So I've kind of given up on that, to be very hell-bent on time schedule. That has also helped. Letting go has really helped. So we don't, like when you're single especially, you're like, okay, at 6 o'clock I'll do this, and then 7 o'clock I'll do this, and then 8 o'clock I have to be there, I'm going to go out for dinner, and then my friends are going to come. So a lot of that changes when you become a mother. I'm being very like open and honest about it. And the faster and the better you accept it, you'll be a lot. It really, doesn't take over you. You're handling it better. So 1 or 2 days, you can't stick to that schedule, or you can't go out. Let it be. I mean, it's not the end. You have to come to that understanding. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard. So yes, that's a suggestion.
Sense. You already give out a lot of tips on your page, regarding fitness or nutrition. Why the pregnancy and postpartum sessions again?
So there's a lot more detail when I do the pregnancy session trimester wise, more so about, food intake in terms of a few things you can change in your daily diet. So even in both these sessions, I talk about general fitness and food first. So almost, 45 minutes, 1 hour is what they can do throughout life, maybe 10 years after they have the baby, or, even through pregnancy. So it's a general routine, which I want to spread awareness about to anyone, not only pregnant moms or, postpartum new mothers. So also because it's like I said, it's a field where nobody really openly comes out and talks about in detail. So they have a lot of questions answered by the time I finish the session. In terms of what to pack in my hospital bag in the postpartum session. And, what are the first 40 days? It's so important. It's called the confinement period. What all are the practices in terms of, traditionally that we do, which is scientifically also very, very good. So I talk about these in detail so they get prepared and they can also source these things if they don't have it, or talk to whoever's going to help them when they just about deliver. Like the samrani, the whole thing about the dhuna, the resin, and you dry your hair using the charcoal and that resin. So these are few things that are actually pretty good, like traditionally. So I talk about a lot of this. I have written about it on my page, but there are people who are not on Instagram also. They 3 hours, they're like, if I sit and listen to it, I get a lot of info. They take down running notes,
Basically,
they make
like
their own journals.
like a formatted version of everything in one
Yes,
page.
yes, yes.
Instead of going back to your page and looking for things.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I myself am somebody who likes to go to the gym and work out. Like I like that community of working out together, but I see that mostly you do it alone at home. Where do you find the motivation from without people around you?
I think myself, to be honest, what I do is I just run through my old pictures whenever I need motivation. And I'm like, see, and I think it's more like a, virtuous cycle for me. Like I said, if I know I've done half an hour in the morning, I'm eating better. I'm working better. Like it's more like I know if I don't do that, like the rest of my day is not going to be that great. Like it's just become such a, habituated thing. And I get into that vicious cycle. I'll probably pick up a donut and eat more of it if I haven't done that work. Or if you just fall into another cycle itself.
It's weird, right? The day you don't work out, you feel like eating something unhealthy. I don't know why. Yes. My appetite works much more positive when I'm working out.
Yes, definitely. It's very connected, I think, mentally. Because your body's given it so much. You don't want to be dumping stuff into it and you work so hard. So I think it's very connected that way. That's why I'm like, and even about when to work out. So I'm like, start in the morning. It's somehow, if you are a morning person, the best time to work out is in the morning. So the flow of the entire day, sits in that tone. So yeah.
And sometimes I postpone it to evening. Then a lot of other things keep coming up and my schedule goes crazy.
Yes. And you're like, it's okay, I'll do it in the morning tomorrow.
Yeah. Once you're done with it in the morning, you feel like there's the rest of the day for you, to plan.
Very true, very true.
I remember when I was losing weight also, you told me, you have to like have a vision as to how you want to look. And I think that's really helped me. I would try to see how I would look, 10 kgs down, 10 kgs down. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what kept me going. Yeah.
It's a very simple suggestion. They're like, I had to come to you to listen to this. Like, when I say it, but if you actually work towards that goal, like it's so much to do mentally. Like, I think, that really, really helps. You shouldn't take those statements very lightly is what I feel. Like, for someone who's starting out, it may not be that motivating to hear someone just say, visualize how you look. But, that's the truth to it. So, yeah.
I understand. It really helped me a lot.
Thank you. So that's how we connected, in fact.
Yes, yeah. And the rest, not exactly the recipes, but the kind of food you were putting out. I actually tried quite a few of them, and I was a healthy person. I mean, generally because of tennis. So it wasn't like, oh my God, it didn't taste that good. I didn't have that kind of feelings. I'm open to all kinds of food. So it really did help me quite a bit.
Thanks. Also, that comes from traveling and, no other option and you just have to eat. I think that people in sport are a lot more fussy about food. That's another thing that helps. So that healthy thing, when I say substitute millet for rice.
Are not so fussy?
No, people in sport are not so fussy.
I heard about, it like more fussy, so I was just confused.
Sorry. No. Yeah. No. Like you see, if you go into countries, I'm sure, I mean, I don't have to say that, you are left with no other option to actually, rather than to eat it. So I think that's also something. See, there's so much to pick up from playing a sport. So when I say, tell someone, substitute your whites with your reds or your browns, they're like, how can I give up on white rice? It tastes so good. I'm like, you either choose this or that.
I honestly don't remember the last time I had white rice, and I'm not thinking about it. Maybe sometimes I like biryani or something, I go by basmati rice.
Yes.
I was very young when my mom turned white into brown. So
see, exactly. And your whole house is the entire that all of them are in that same cycle. They're eating the healthy stuff because that's being cooked. So yeah, the whole perspective changes.
So there's this friend of mine from Chennai, more like an acquaintance. she shared one of
Right.
the pictures and put it out there that you're very helpful for all the pregnant moms out there. I remember texting you that and saying, is the world getting really small, or is your reach
Yes,
getting
yes, I
bigger?
remember that. I
So
remember
I told
that.
her that you're one of the tennis players that I knew from long ago. So she's like,
Mhm.
she might be more reachable to you, because she has so many answers and everything. I'm like, no, honestly, I said she's as reachable to me as she is to you.
Yeah,
So my question
yeah.
here is, how do you find the time to reply to so many comments, so many messages? Just how?
So I kept a time for it in the morning and in the night too. And for me, more than comments, I make sure my entire DM is read before I sleep, because I've done this mistake a couple of times. Like, I've postponed it by 2-3 days, and I've had moms who are going into labor in the next 2-3 days saying, should I be taking this? Should I not be taking? So somewhere I feel like if I don't read it, I may have missed a question that was important for them then.
But Akshita, as your followers keep increasing, isn't that too much pressure on you?
It is. I mean, going forward, I don't know, but at least until now, I'm able to manage it on a personal level. And I want to keep it that personal, to be honest, because it's a very different, it's not just like I give a plan and then you go do it. It's a very, I want to ask you stuff kind of a thing. So I don't know. For now, it's okay. I mean, I'm able to manage, but let's see going forward if I can figure out, more like these sessions. Probably I'll say, attend the session so you get all the information at once, or things like that. I'll have to figure out. So, but yes, like you said, it got very tedious after I had Nanda, because these sessions and all, I didn't it was something, everything that I've done professionally in terms of fitness now has come based on demand. Like, it wasn't self driven, it was need based, that they wanted help from me, and I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And so that's why I've always worked reverse. So the need has come and then I do the plan. So now that things are like more structured and formal, everything's like more shaped up. So the session, everything's flowing better now. So now I'm in a better time schedule than I was when Nanda was, say, 3, 4, 5 months. So that was a little hard. So, but I could take that kind of weight and pressure because of tennis. I feel like it's just pushed you so much. So I connect very much with what sport I played at that level. Like, whatever it's done to me has been completely positive. So it's not just the sport, you learn so much more from the sport. That's why I tell all moms who attend a session, I'm like, listen, just expose your child to every sport, and one sport that child is interested in, give them that opportunity to take it up a little more seriously. If they are really interested, it will help them somewhere in life. So yeah.
Find interest in tennis yet?
Benak, all right. Because of this whole pandemic thing, I think this was the right age for him. Like, he's 5 now, so it would have been nice for him to pick it up. He had just about started last year, but I can't really tell, to be honest. So I don't know. We'll give it more time. And I'm not one of those very, you have to do it. You have to do it, moms, yet at least, because I've seen it. So we've learned from our past and all of that. So let's see if he does. But it's as a mom, for any mom, I'm saying it's your duty to expose them to a lot of sports. So let's see if they're interested, then go serious.
What does being an influencer mean to you, Akshita?
Like I said, create awareness about things that I've done, experienced, and tried, tested, and said 100% positive you can do it. So even the brands I associate with, or whoever I work with, for me, that I need to be sure. I need to be 100% sure that it's going to work for me. So even like now I'm talking to you, I know this is going to reach, the people who really need it. So and commercials, all of this is secondary. The field that I've gotten into is such, I feel, like to create more awareness. So for me, the meaning of influencer is to create more awareness about what I'm doing. So end of it. That's the word, I think.
To
Awareness.
your family, kids, husband, how do they support you in this whole thing?
So they've been really, really supportive. So my mom's definitely been a very, very huge, driving force, because she's also working and she's multitasking throughout the day. So I've seen her grow up, and I'm like, you can do like a lot of things at one time. It's not so hard. My everyone at home, and my husband is very, he's a workaholic. So he understands, how it is to actually feel good from working with what you'd like to do. Like, he's studied, very few people actually study in the same line, get to work in the same line. So he's been something like that, like he's working in his field of passion. So he understands I'm very passionate about fitness. He knew that before he got married to me, because, the whole international tennis player, all of that, was already out there in the open. So he's very supportive about that. And in terms of, managing the baby and time, we do have help. So that also helps. And he is very hands-on with both the kids. So that also really helps. So that way there's support in terms of physically as morally. So that's exactly why I'm able to do so much, I think. Otherwise,
the kids understand the number of videos you take, where they get posted, or what's happening with it.
The kids? Oh, Benak totally understands. And he's running through videos on my page, and he's like, you remember we did this then? And he remembers, the videos we take for, a few specific causes. And, when I'm showing him a working out video where he's working out with me, he's like, yeah, we did it that day, right? Like, he knows it's going to go out there and people are going. So when he's like, you're going for a meeting, Amma? I'm like, yeah. And when I do the sessions, so I'm like, yeah. And he's like, who do you take class for? And then I'm like, other, mamas is going to have babies. What do you tell them? Like, he knows. So I'm very open with Benak. Like, he knows everything that I do. And I never kill the curiosity. Like I was talking about normalizing breastfeeding, things that he knows completely. He's like, oh, the baby comes out from, like, I think today you just have to be like that for them to totally understand what the world is like. And being a mother to two boys, I think I'm definitely a propagator of that today, because I don't want to be, decorating it and saying it the other way around, and he finding out from somebody else and trying to be more curious. And, so it's very, very, good to scientifically tell them what it is, the kind of science they understand at that age. I think that's the best way to do it. So he knows, the kids.
Nanda obviously spoke a lot about trying to make Benak understand, another baby coming, or, how to.
Yes. I'm
pretty sure that I don't think not every parent does that. It's more like the second kid comes out and the first starts feeling jealous about the second, and the second enjoys all the attention.
Yes.
That's the societal normalcy.
I had so many questions on that. Yes. I had so many questions on that also. And I've tried to, speak to so many moms saying how they can manage, the older child. It's also definitely a very big area to consider when you're having a second baby. So, yeah.
Did you know that before, or you just went along the way when you decided to have a second baby?
No, Nanda was very much planned. Like, as in, I knew I wanted to have another one. Even the timing was, with personal reasons, I was sure, like, after a particular situation, I wanted to have another baby. So he was pretty planned, and I spoke to Benak throughout it, and it was planned. In fact, Benak wasn't, but this one was very planned.
How do you feel about yours or family's mental or physical health? Because you put a lot of personal content out there for public at large.
Like I said, I wanted it to be more real, more honest. So that's exactly why I've gone a little more deeper. And though it does, involve a lot of personal space, I have gone, across that and said, okay, listen, they want to see the real thing. They want to understand how I do it. I have to get down, like, go deeper. So that's the reason, I have done it. But my parents all of them are on Instagram, and they understand how it is. And most of the posts that I do are to create more awareness. So that way I do have their support completely. And it's it's not even a private account, it's a public account. So sorry about that. So yeah.
Do you feel the need to take any periodic breaks from social media? Do you need like a space sometimes?
Yeah, when I see like, 150, 200 DMs at the end of the evening, and I know I have to answer all of them, I'm like, some days I wish, like, I could just leave it as it is. And, and I do that, like, off late, I try to understand in the first line itself what the message could be. So if I understand there's a need to reply to it immediately, I will. Otherwise, off late, I've been trying to say, listen, it can rest for a day or two. So if it's something that, how do I teach phonics for my son, like questions like that, I let it stay for a day or two if I'm not able to answer immediately, and then I get back. But like I said, if it's labor or things, so I flag those messages. So there's a way I figured out how I can, make priority to some messages, and it's more need based. Like if they say it's now, then okay, fine. I'll say okay, I'll answer immediately.
What's your future vision for your handle, Fitness for the Fit Mom? Where do you see yourself going with it?
I haven't really thought about it so much. So I've just been doing it like as the day comes.
I see you're coming up with new things though, like, when you're working on a desk, how to work out. I see a branch
yes.
a little more.
Yes. So these are also again question based, like what can I do quickly? What can I do this, that? So I'm like, okay, let me create content around that instead of just saying, doing the routine stuff. But yes, there have been so many suggestions to write a book on postpartum because everything will be in one place. So these are probably I don't know how many of the audience would know. I'm completely involved in running a preschool. So that's my mainstream work. So this is obviously going to be my passion through life, fitness for for moms and moms to be. So I'll see how much of it I can give, and obviously I have another young baby to bring up, and I've seen by spending a lot of productive time what it can do in Benap. So I want to be dedicating that kind of time even for the second one. So keeping all this in mind, it will not be very drastic for sure, but I will be progressing at a very gradual and very steady pace, but always
the audience itself is coming out with what product they need next, so you just spend your time preparing it if you
got it so right.
Information.
Yes. I mean, you said it right. I don't think I can say it any better.
Okay.
It's very need based, like I was also saying. So yeah.
Thank you very much. But I have 3 questions that I want to ask everybody I'm interviewing, a common ground of questions. So one word that resonates the most with you.
I think cheerful. I'm just always like very, very cheerful, I think.
No wonder you would like to work with babies all the time.
Probably that also. Oh, I love that work I do. So yeah.
One thing you think you should have done differently?
Handle my injury better.
I had an elbow thing, which they told me back then it wasn't a tennis elbow. But at the same time, I don't know what was wrong. But every time I served, I would get a shock sort of feeling. Today, I realized it's not even an injury. It was basically some sort of stiffness flowing in from the shoulder or scapula back down to the elbow. It's crazy.
If you had this understanding, exactly. If this was told to you back then, things probably would have been so different.
The guidance was not that much back then in terms of experts or the knowledge. Indian sport was that's whole another topic.
Yes, that's very true. That's completely sport. But I really feel like, the kind of specialization coaches that we need, that really has to increase. We just have coaches who keep telling you how to do the tennis part of it. The other stuff, I really think we do need, more expertise on that to answer these questions for us.
Sure, yeah. The last one is one advice you think is important to everybody.
Fitness for life, do something, I focus on the word sustainable. You can do 10 minutes every day, please do 10 minutes. Okay, and it need not be that you have to go put on your workout dress, workout shop. You can just be doing 10 Surya Namaskaras in whatever, your night pajamas before you step into the shower. So something to get that blood flowing and to get your aerobic level and strength level, balanced and keep going throughout the day. Or if you can't do 30 minutes at once, do 10, 10, 10. Like at the office, take a break, try and stretch out, for 10 minutes. So some kind of fitness for your body, it will thank you. So yes, definitely that.
Thank you very much, Akshita. Wish you so much more positive.
Welcome, Hannah.
Hope that you keep entertaining us with Benak and Nanda and motivating us with how fit a mother of 2 can be.
Yes, definitely. I'm always there. Thank you so much for doing this and all the best.